diskriminasi terhadap pelajar OKU. Apa salahnya Anik?
Ada satu top STPM scorer yang telah pun menerima rejection daripada public universities kerana beliau mempunyai ketidakupayaan physical disability.
Tak boleh terima lah people keep using all this alasan, macam contoh, kalau untuk physical disability kita tak ada kemudahan
Ramp.
sebab bangunan kita bangunan lama.
Hai, salam sejahtera. Selamat datang ke episod ke-72 Kita Family Podcast. Di podcast ini, kami akan membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat yang berbilang agama, kaum, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutama bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Hai, nama saya Desiree dan bersama-sama saya di studio hari ini adalah Anit.
Hello, apa khabar?
Dan di Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Didi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum.
Hari ini kakak SK dan juga Nori tak dapat bersama kami, tapi mereka mengirim salam dan akan join lah dalam episod-episod yang akan datang.
Kakak SK ada tugas yang sangat sangat berat untuk menyedia dan bersama anak neurodivergent beliau Joshua di negara yang baru, sekolah yang baru, di alam yang baru, and we wish her all the best.
Exactly, all the best kakak. And ini adalah satu transisi yang sangat besar untuk Joshua dan kakak kita ya. I think semua ibu bapa di luar sana I can share that sentiment of when our children fly the nest and start to be more independent. And Joshua is stepping into the higher education realm.
Yes.
And higher education is actually part of our topic today. Kan satu topik yang sangat serius sebenarnya baru-baru ni yang tular di media sosial dan juga di berita mengenai kes UPU ataupun unit pusat universiti, iaitu satu platform di mana pelajar-pelajar yang ingin menuntut di Institut Pengajian Tinggi di Malaysia, mereka akan apply di sana. So it's a centralized system, an online platform where students will usually apply for higher education in public universities. Dan keluarlah berita, sebenarnya dia keluar di Facebook dahulu tentang seorang student dengan CGPA 3.83. Right? He was blocked actually from applying for the courses that he wanted. So saya akan baca dulu Facebook post yang keluar. Okay, it's titled Diskriminasi Terhadap Pelajar OKU. Apa salahnya Anik? Fasa 2 permohonan UPU, Anik seorang anak istimewa, pemegang kad OKU kategori pembelajaran dalam kurungan autisma. Seorang pelajar yang bukan calang-calang, CGPA matrikulasi 3.83. Syarat lulus, syarat khas program lulus juga. Dia pilih dengan yakin bidang impiannya sains komputer, sains matematik, statistik di UKM dan UPM. Bidang-bidang yang perlukan minda kritikal. Anik tahu ke mana dia mahu pergi. Dia dah bersedia. Tapi bila ke fasa 3, semua pilihan dia di dalam sistem UPU tiada lagi. Ya, untuk UKM, UPM dan tiada lagi bidang yang diusahakan sekian lama. So, mereka menghubungi pihak UPU melalui email dan mendapat balasan email dari UPU. So, saya akan bacakan sekarang the reply that they got. Salam sejahtera. Pihak kami mengucapkan terima kasih atas maklum balas diberikan. Setelah membuat semakan, pihak BKPA, which stands for Bahagian Kemasukan Pelajar IPTA, mendapati bahawa calon adalah pemegang kad OKU bagi kategori pembelajaran autisma. Sebarang pertanyaan, calon boleh menghubungi pihak BKPA seperti berikut dan mereka memberi nombor telefon hotline. So, ini adalah salah satu contoh that is very obvious di mana diskriminasi telah berlaku lah. There is no better way of saying it. There is no way of sugarcoating it. This is a very clear case of discrimination and this is not the first time. Ya, saya rasa setiap tahun, setahu saya dalam 3 tahun lepas ni, setiap tahun ada je kes.
Actually
Macam
sudah ada kes yang saya tahu sendiri dalam tempoh 5 tahun. Setiap tahun pada bulan Ogos. Dan bukan juga kepada adik-anik, ada satu top STPM scorer yang telah pun menerima rejection daripada public universities kerana beliau mempunyai ketidakupayaan physical disability, dan beliau dari Air Itam Johor, adik Lim Chin Hong yang telah mendapat CGPA 4.0 dan straight A's dalam pengajian am, fizik, matematik dan kimia dalam STPM. Jadi beliau adalah science stream student dan telah memohon kepada universiti tempatan, tetapi kesemua kursus kejuruteraan telah
engineering
courses telah pun diblok dan beliau tidak dapat untuk memohon bagi itu kerana beliau didiagnose dengan hemangioma, tumor di lutut kanan beliau pada masa beliau 7 tahun, dan ini telah mengakibatkan kaki beliau dipotong. Jadi he's on crutches dan mempunyai disability physical. So ini adalah 2 kes yang memang telah viral sejak 3 minggu yang lepas.
Okay, so jom kita tanya Didi. Maybe Didi boleh ulaskan sedikit apakah respons daripada pihak kementerian selepas keluar kes UPU tersebut. Didi?
Okay, selepas beberapa minggu, even kita nak tunggu mendapatkan respon ni pun, dia bukan immediately. Memang terasa kan, kita yang tunggu-tunggu ni, it wasn't, rasa macam lebih dari 2 minggu macam tu baru dapat respon. Dan respon yang kita dapat dari dalam Dewan Rakyat sendiri oleh Menteri Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, iaitu Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir, he firmly denied that there is any policy barring students with disabilities from entering public universities. So dia menegaskan bahawa tiada polisi yang menyekat mereka yang mempunyai any disabilities ada kad OKU untuk masuk ke universiti swasta. Kemudian dia bertambah, our policy is clear. Students with disabilities have the same right to education as any other student. No qualified applicant will be turned away on the basis of their disability. Zamri explained that confusion arose during the UPU process because Anik applied under the OKU category, which requires applicant to state their specific disability. But the thing is kan, kalau kita tengok jawapan daripada email yang Anik dapat tu kan, mereka sudah tahu Anik ada Anik di bawah kategori OKU pembelajaran autisma.
Yes.
So kalau dia katakan Anik tidak state apa specific disability yang dia hadapi, macam mana UPU boleh jawab macam tu? So see, ada discrepancy, and also it shows that okay, ni dah masuk ulasan saya lah, bukan ulasan menteri. It shows that this is a systemic discrimination.
Failure.
Kan?
Yes.
Failure. And then kalau dia kata bila apply UPU tak boleh tolak, universiti tak boleh tolak, tapi it's so obvious that dalam sistem OKU, dalam sistem UPU tu, universiti bila mereka menaikkan options daripada universiti mereka kan, okay, apa kursus yang ada, apa kelayakan yang diperlukan untuk setiap kursus itu, contohnya dari segi akademik, dari segi mungkin curriculum, merits tertentu, mereka di situ ada option untuk menyekat apakah yang mereka tidak mahu, calon-calon bagaimana yang mereka tidak boleh terima. So how can
Yeah.
you say that UPU tidak boleh menyekat, tidak ada diskriminasi when it's, sorry to say, universities were given options to deny, some students who has disability, who has certain criteria. Because if you talk about contoh kita punya keputusan results, that I can understand because mesti ada ranking kan, mungkin mesti
Betul.
sebab of course ratus ribu yang apply, so of course ada ranking lah. So mungkin bila you ada results yang tidak sebaik pelajar-pelajar lain, you tak dapat lah your first choice. Tapi bila you mempunyai result yang cemerlang, so you, in fact dalam email tu aku cakap it's not even about results, dia bukan pasal you punya keputusan.
Yes.
So
Yep.
kita mahukan penjelasan yang lebih lagi, dan kalau boleh jangan berulang. Dan macam sekarang diskriminasi di mana bila you declare you ada autisma, you ada OKU ataupun ada disability yang lain, peluang menjadi terhad. Tapi you tidak pula UPU kata okay, masa, sebab kan bila you nak apply UPU ni dia ada panduan dia. Okay, how to isi the borang, what are the courses that you should. Of course, even kalau di college ataupun di sekolah pun dia akan ada guru counselling ataupun counsellor yang akan advice tahu macam mana nak isi borang ni tahu. Jadi kalau you ada kad OKU, adakah you punya guideline tu berbeza? Ada macam macam kalau you ada kat OKU, perhaps you should look into only this list, ataupun UPU sendiri awal-awal lagi dah hilangkan terus option tu sebab you tak boleh. Kalau macam awal lagi, katalah macam okay, boleh isi borang kan, you isi nama everything semua, and then you tick lah you ada OKU card and what kind of disability that you have, and then you can see apa option yang you ada. And yang sebelum tak ada sampai fasa 3 baru tahu you tak nak terima. So awal-awal lagi dah tak nampak. And then not because macam it's not that it will make us happy and senang nak apply, no. Then we can make noise even earlier. Then we can say
Absolutely.
kan?
Actually kelemahannya Didi, masa dalam sistem UPU saya difahamkan mereka hanya bertanyakan adakah anda mempunyai kad OKU. Dia suruh tick. Dia tidak tanya soalan yang seterusnya yang patut ditanya, iaitu apakah kategori OKU yang kategori OKU. Sebab kalau masalah pembelajaran memang tak ada physical limitation. So tak adalah universiti tu kalau tak ada RAM ke, tak ada apa lift ke, dia it doesn't make a difference because it's a hidden disability. Tapi kalau seseorang itu mempunyai ketidakupayaan fizikal, mereka memerlukan all the access kepada bangunan, kepada dewan kuliah, kepada bilik tutorial, kepada bilik cikgu. So that itself becomes a question which for me, universiti sepatut tanya, sebab kita ada tak facility itu, kita ada tak kemudahan itu. Kalau mereka jawab, okay, sebab tahun ini saya difahamkan at least 8 atau 9 orang OKU yang menghadapi masalah ini, bukannya satu. Kes Anik telah pun diwar-warkan, tapi ada juga budak lain. And ada seseorang itu yang mempunyai disleksia. Dan jawapan yang diterima daripada universiti is, kita tidak dapat mempertimbangkan permohonan sebab kita tak ada ramp. Alahai. It just
Sakit
made
hati.
me like, yeah.
Lagi hati dengar.
Did you even ask?
Okay, so there are few things here that comes up to me, right? First thing is, saya tengok statement ni pun macam is contradictory, So firstly, the statement says, firmly denied that there is any policy barring students, and then goes on to say, the confusion arose during the UPU process because he applied under the OKU category. So first you say there's no discrimination, then you say, but because you declared, therefore you were denied. That's one thing. And secondly, my question is a rhetorical question lah. I'm sure we don't have the answer kan. is this a result of human error or is it automated? Is the UPU system automated that the minute you tick OKU, certain courses disappear?
Okay, I would say so because the very first case that I came across, and that was in my capacity as a lawyer and also a parent advocate, is a girl who was denied entry, and this was like way back post-COVID. And masa itu memang ada sekatan dalam sistem sebab UPU itu ada certain kategori yang mereka kata mesra OKU, disability friendly, seperti hairdressing, housekeeping, hotel management, things like that. Jadi makeup artist. So those sort of community courses were what were available to OKU. Tapi that defeats the purpose because sebagai seorang OKU, mereka berhak juga access higher education. And I was just reading this up. University is a tertiary education institution yang perkataan itu adalah daripada perkataan Latin universitas. And itu adalah perkataan yang digunakan dalam bahasa Indon juga, saya difahamkan. Dan perkataan universitas itu adalah satu perkataan Latin, a dead language, but still meaning Universitas Magistrorum et Scholarum, yang bermakna community of teachers and scholars. So itu adalah satu community untuk pendidik dan juga untuk orang yang nak belajar, scholars. So kalau seseorang OKU itu dihadkan daripada even entry kepada universiti, mereka dihadkan daripada membelajar di tahap yang tinggi dan juga menjadi a scholar or pendidik juga. Sebab kebanyakan pendidik yang ada di kalangan kami itu pernah hadir di universiti. And that's one way of clear exclusion instead of inclusion. Dan itu bukanlah one of the principles that we would like and we always advocate for.
Absolutely. And I think there were some rather strong responses as well, right? From the OKU community. I think maybe Anit, you can elaborate on that.
So there was a letter which was initiated, which garnered over 200 signatures. And that letter was actually initiated by an autistic advocate, Beatrice Leong, and she is also recently appointed on the Majlis Kebangsaan OKU. And she brought up the fact that this happens every year. And despite repeated assurances, it's always a one-off basis. Bila di-highlight, mereka akan solve untuk pelajar itu sahaja. Dan bukan memperbaiki sistem.
They are not going to the source of the problem. They're just, like in medical speak, you're treating the symptoms. You're not treating the cause, right?
So that automatic filtering system tu masih ada. So dia masih ada sistem yang akan menolak pelajar-pelajar OKU. And honestly, I was thinking about it the other day. Kebanyakan pelajar OKU tu akan give up. Tak ramai akan datang and said, why is this happening to me? Oh, tak dapat tu, okay lah, I cuba benda lain, cuba kerja, maybe rely more on welfare. You are disabling them even further with this system. And that has to stop.
Absolutely. So I was just, scrolling through the notes and I came across this one. Straight A student with 3.96 CGPA gets rejected by local uni but is accepted in the UK.
How many OKU students boleh mempunyai kemampuan dan matlamat untuk berhijrah dan belajar di negara luar? Because OKU students already have a lot of support needs, kan, Didi? That's why we call it reasonable accommodation. And
but looking at it, kan, before they applied UPU, they went through matriculation lah, ada SPM, STP, and they had gotten very high grades tau. Grades yang sangat bagus already dengan keadaan support yang tidak seberapa dalam Malaysia ni. Tapi universiti kita still lagi tak berani, tak boleh lah, takut, rasa macam you tak layak lah untuk ni. Tapi kalau betul dia tak mampu untuk belajar sesuatu course tu, macam mana dia boleh cemerlang dalam SPM, dalam matrikulasi, dalam STP. And then I seriously macam tak boleh terima lah, like people keep using all this alasan, macam contoh, kalau untuk physical disability kita tak ada kemudahan sebab bangunan kita bangunan lama. Tapi seorang pelajar yang menggunakan kursi roda contohnya, adakah dia perlu akses pergi ke setiap bahagian universiti itu? Tidak kan? And that's the thing. So macam it's always terus nak terus reject, terus tak nak fikir macam nak mudahkan. And then walaupun dah ada OKU support unit sokongan OKU, although not in all universities but most universities dah ada, tapi mereka masih lagi belum mampu untuk membantu semua fakulti untuk menerima pelajar with any kind of disabilities kan, baik dari segi hidden disability, physical disabilities. It's always like macam tak boleh, kita tak boleh ni alasan lagi, tak boleh, walaupun kementerian kata tak ada diskriminasi, tak ada ni, and then kementerian mengeluarkan all these statements yang menggalakkan dan menyatakan bahawa mereka mahu golongan OKU untuk meneruskan pelajaran dalam peringkat tinggi. Tapi kalau universiti masih diberi ruang untuk mengelak, untuk tidak memenuhi kan sebaik-baiknya untuk memberi peluang kepada OKU, sampai bila akan jadi macam ni kan? So satu saya nak share, kan bila perkara ni viral and then kita boleh baca komen-komen daripada community keluarga autisma itu sendiri, ada yang mengatakan kenapa you tak bukan dia macam tu, macam kalau anak saya lah, saya hanya akan apply ke universiti sekian-sekian. Memang ada beberapa universiti yang memang terbukti lah memberi sokongan yang sangat baik kepada OKU. Tapi adakah itu bermakna kita sebagai komuniti pun tak payah susah-susah, tak payah beri tekanan, tak payah cuba untuk memikirkan potensi anak-anak kita, pilihan yang terbaik macam anak-anak tipikal, tapi hanya tertutup, terhad dengan yang dah ada track record sahaja. Kan? Contoh ada mungkin UIA yang track record yang sangat baik membantu golongan-golongan OKU. So what do you think, Desri, Anit? Perlukah kita terhadkan ikut
there's even
pengalaman?
Polytechnics and community colleges. There's even it's not just universities. Ada juga polytechnic, ada juga maktab pembelajaran guru, teachers training, and ada banyak peluang. And I think in that aspect, that letter that went viral, kalau sesiapa yang tidak membaca, saya akan just membacakan the last two paragraphs of that letter yang menyatakan, we need to echo Malala Yousafzai's words, one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Reinforcing the transformative power of education for all. The disabled community needs this more than ever to nurture stronger leaders, shape our shared future, let our students with disabilities be free to chase their dreams. And like we always say, let them feel that nobody is left behind. Kalau ada systemic issues like this, mereka dah mula, masa nak apply pun dengan penuh harapan. It's like any kid. Bila dia ada grade dia nak memohon lah, sebab dia akan tengok kelayakan akademik dulu. Kalau dia dah boleh apply, and then lepas itu peluang dia terjejas kerana status OKU dia, itu adalah a trigger for like mental health issues, trigger for the fact that you are not good enough, and no matter how hard you try, when you try very hard pun, you're not going to be accepted. And itu adalah satu keadaan yang kami patut mengelak kerana everybody deserves a chance.
Absolutely. I'm just reflecting on what Didi said kan. Ada setengah parents yang berpendapat, universiti sekian-sekian memang mesra kepada OKU or autistics in general. So they would probably just apply for those. I think in those cases, they're just playing it safe, sebab they are also protecting themselves and their children from heartache and disappointment. And I think it's not that diorang tak nak fight for the cause. Now, that maybe they do in their own way, but that's also a way of protecting their kids, right? And which also, begs the question of declaring, whether we declare or not declare when we, get our kids to apply to institutions of higher learning, even for work, right? So all these questions and more, perhaps we'll discuss more after a short break. Shall we take a short break?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Hai, selamat kembali ke episod ke-72 Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kita membincangkan isu berkaitan dengan diskriminasi pelajar yang memerangkap OKU apabila membuat aplikasi untuk ke universiti melalui portal UPU. Banyak kita telah bincang tadi, and one of the things that stood out to me in terms of this, first is the discrepancy lah kan. Kementerian says that there is no discrimination towards people who are disabled, but then the system is programmed otherwise. So my rhetorical question is everyone talking to each other? The people who manage the portal and at ministry level who are making these announcements. And the other thing that sebenarnya bothers me, setiap tahun lah bila ada convocation kan, I'm very happy that when our neurodivergent community gets featured for doing really well, because it gives hope, right, to parents, it gives hope to the community. Tapi universiti pun ambil kesempatan for that, that press article, this student from this university, pelajar autistic, first class honour. So they are only too happy to take the limelight, tetapi benda, this, the root of the problem is not being addressed.
And sometimes when they advertise that way, they don't bridge that gap into the employment world as well. Yeah. So I would urge this public institutes of private learning, universiti tempatan untuk memberi peluang dan pathway kepada pelajar-pelajar dan siswaza OKU untuk melangkah ke bidang pekerjaan dan memberi peluang semasa mereka berada di universiti untuk menjalankan internship ke, just instead of just having the end grade as a catchphrase, kita build the confidence, build the opportunity so that kita tahu apakah kelemahan ataupun kebolehan seseorang pelajar itu masa universiti itu.
Be honest and upfront.
Yes.
Right? So that everyone can manage expectations. Yeah. Okay, so kita akan sambung perbincangan kami. So sebenarnya there's always that question lah, what is the benefit of declaring, or what is the benefit of having the OKU card? So memang kan ada benefit kepada mereka yang OKU di Institut Pengajian Tinggi. Maybe you can elaborate on that, please.
Okay. Untuk mereka yang memegang kad OKU dan mendapatkan tempat dan telah mendapat tempat di universiti tempatan, universiti awam tempatan, ada peruntukan untuk mereka mendapat bantuan kewangan OKU. Bantuan ini disediakan oleh Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi sendiri, di mana mereka memberi bantuan dari bentuk tuition fees, iuran pengajian, allowance, living allowance, kos harian dan juga allowance lain, contohnya allowance untuk buku, untuk research, dan kalau ada practical, internship, clinical training pun ada allowance tertentu juga, dengan syarat berada di universiti tempatan, ada kad OKU. Universiti tersebut mestilah dalam kos yang mendapat accreditation by MQA, telah disahkan, dan juga bukan seseorang yang mendapat scholarship penuh daripada badan-badan lain lah. Tapi kalau PT-PTN masih boleh. Student with PT-PTN loans boleh memohon. Tapi ini menunjukkan macam you kena fight dululah dapatkan tempat, kemudian boleh pohon. Dia macam you nak bagi, kita ada bantuan ni, peruntukan ni, tapi nak dapatkan peruntukan tu ada halangan macam-macam kan. So tolonglah kan Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi tolong review balik UPU system. Dan kemudian apabila kita dah declare ada OKU card dan apakah disability yang dihadapi, boleh mendapatkan support dari segi academic support berbentuk reasonable accommodation lah, yang tu kita pernah bincang sebelum ni juga, dalam bentuk mungkin extended time for exams, masa yang lebih panjang ketika mengambil peperiksaan, alternative exam condition, mungkin perlu ambil exam di bilik berasingan, bilik yang lebih senyap, menggunakan komputer instead of writing. Macam pelajar lain mungkin jawab soalan, you jawab dengan tangan lah, tapi kalau you perlukan bantuan khas di mana you nak jawab guna komputer, boleh disediakan juga. Kemudian flexible deadlines in terms of assignment. So deadline assignment mungkin pensyarah boleh memberi sedikit flexibility di situ. So kat sini macam banyak yang ada dalam list, tapi masih bergantung kepada setiap universiti itu dan apa yang direkomend oleh unit sokongan OKU setiap universiti lah. So dia masih lagi bukan satu standard yang dilaksanakan di setiap universiti di Malaysia. Dan kita harapkan ia menjadi satu standard lah, sebab I think by now SPM pun kita dah ada betul standard SPM, sebab dia satu exam awam kan, umum untuk seluruh negara. Kalau peringkat A-level, peringkat international pun dia ada standard apakah accommodation yang boleh diberikan kepada pelajar-pelajar yang declare mereka adalah OKU dan apa jenis disability yang mereka ada lah. So ada boleh mohon, tapi jaminan untuk mendapat itu saya pun tak dapat nak pastikan, tapi it's happening. Dah ada universiti yang berjaya memberi kemudahan kepada tersebut. Kita boleh rujuklah pengalaman-pengalaman pelajar-pelajar OKU yang sedang belajar ataupun telah graduate themselves tentang apa yang ada dan telah disediakan oleh universiti-universiti di Malaysia.
Ya, sebab ada universiti awang yang mempunyai Disability Support Unit, DSU.
Betul.
Within the university. Dan dalam pada itu ada juga mentor-mentor ataupun
buddy system.
Dan setengah universiti, I think dia akan, yang ada unit pendidikan khas, mereka akan appoint pensyarah dari sana juga to oversee certain parts of their academics, whether certain accommodations are needed, macam Didi kata tentang assignments and all that, right? I know at some point this did, or is still happening at UKM, because I was in the education faculty as a student doing masters in special ed, and some of my lecturers memang mereka pantau, and it's not just for the education faculty, it's university wide, di mana-mana ada pelajar dengan masalah pembelajaran.
So the diversity that in terms of learning was acknowledged, and that was great.
Yeah.
So I just want to read what kakak okay, saya bukan arif macam kakak ya. This is her wisdom.
Kakak SK specific.
Kakak SK. This is her wisdom, and she wanted to convey this especially to universities out there, sebab universities are tertiary organizations and they are entrusted to nurture and build the future of our nation. and the talent pool that is required to lead the nation in the next generation. So their responsibility and accountability has to be very high. So if they start with basic discrimination, like we are seeing, that's already not being accountable and not being responsible. So kami juga reach out and would like all the management of the universities to take that into consideration, because in light of that, there should be zero room for rejection when academic standards are met, because that is the basic standards being met, and every person should be given an opportunity to pursue and to enhance their skills, their academic success. For all you know, you will have a future scholar, a future lecturer within one of the OKUs that you nurture. And access is absolutely fundamental, Kakak says.
Yeah.
And she says not in terms of quantity of the dimension, but also the diversity of the students to be enrolled, because OKUs also have a national identity. They are Malaysians too. So seperti mana we keep saying in the federal constitutions, all are equal before the law. Every child has got access to education. So every child, regardless of their disability, walaupun mempunyai kelainan upaya, kurang upaya ataupun keupayaan yang berbeza, mereka patut diberi peluang untuk untuk menjadi sebahagian daripada the university scene in Malaysia. And you know, they need to be included to contribute to the quality of high intellect, numerosity, creativity, in the music field, for all you know, in PR, in some form or another. They can be the background voice, they can be the voiceovers, they can be the silent MCs that every function needs. But you need to give them the opportunity, and give them that opportunity melalui policy inclusive. So that is from Kakak. Thank you, Kakak SK.
Yeah, so just to add to that, I found this article by the OKU Rights Matter, actually, from December 2024, where they took stock of basically the achievements so far for the nation, and where disability rights are concerned, and zero reject policy for technical and vocational education and training is concerned. At that point of time, persons with disabilities only comprise 0.55% of students enrolled in public universities, including community colleges and polytechnics. And the fact is, the disabled community make up 15% of our population. So we still have some way to go.
We do, and if there's only 0.55% in such educational institutions, surely lah accommodation boleh. Ini bukannya ramai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it begs the question then on declaring, right? So I would wonder whether this number is, I would say low, 0.55%. Is it because there are some people who don't declare that mereka ni pemegang kad OKU bila apply for, and in certain cases we do see mereka dengan masalah pembelajaran that maybe do not have very high support needs. So mungkin mereka tak declare. Right? And I'm sure this is a question on parents' minds. Okay, and I think we can't give a definite answer or tell people whether to declare or not. But what are your views on declaring your disability when applying for universities? Maybe we start with Didi first.
Didi shared something very... Yeah, Didi, I remember when we were discussing this, you shared something on what ayah kepada anik had shared on social media.
Oh yeah.
Through this entire process.
He did say that rasa menyesal mohon kad OKU untuk anik. So itu perasaan seorang bapa. So it's not stigma. Kita selalu cakap pasal stigma. Stigma is pandangan orang. Ini bukan pandangan. Ini salah satu sistem tau. Sistem yang reject you. So sangat sedih dengan bila kena didiskriminasikan sebagai rupa. Dan sebagai seorang ibu, jika saya sampai ke tahap perlu untuk memohon tempat di universiti, UPU, adakah saya akan declare atau tidak? That's the thing, Desiree. It's and Anit, it's kita memilih kita punya fight, which war you want to fight, kan?
Choose your battles.
Choose your battle, kan? So dalam keadaan ini, kalau saya yang berhadapan, saya rasa I would pick to declare. Sebab kalau mereka reject, maksudnya mereka tidak mahu, tidak sudi untuk memberi sokongan kepada anak saya, dan saya akan terus mencari tempat yang boleh menerima. Sebab sekurang-kurangnya bila mereka menerima dengan keadaan mereka tahu status anak saya yang mempunyai kad OKU dan diagnosisnya, ada peluang lah. Bukan 100% kita yakin yang semua akan berjaya dan tidak akan ada cabaran-cabaran yang di hadapan, tapi sekurang-kurangnya bila mereka sudi menerima, mereka pun ada how do you say, telah ada komitmen lah untuk memberikan services, accommodation, sokongan, dan saya harap mempunyai empathy dan pemahaman yang tinggi lah terhadap keperluan-keperluan pelajar OKU. So that's my
I
stance
agree
lah.
Because I agree sebab Didi, akses kepada pendidikan adalah salah satu hak asasi seorang warga negara. So it's access to education is one of the basic human rights of a developing or a developed country where we are heading to. And kalau kita tidak memberi peluang dan tidak dapat mengutarakan bahawa ini adalah kelemahan kami, iaitu ketidakupayaan seseorang pelajar, it's like you are not just fighting a system, but you are having to do the masking in an environment that is already new, it's already alien. Then that would increase the dropout rate. And that's what we don't want to see. And normally when there is a dropout rate, sometimes there is an investigation, there is an exit interview. Dan jika tidak declare pada masa itu, kalau kata, oh, I couldn't cope because these are my limitations, ini adalah ketidakupayaan saya, most likely the person conducting the interview said, lah, kenapa tak bagi tahu awal? Kenapa tak declare? We could have supported you. So I think that is an issue that we don't want anybody to face, because if you declare and masih mereka tidak dapat accommodate, then all these disability support units should have a mechanism bila kejadian atau keadaan sebegitu berlaku, for them to assist, ataupun adalah tempat untuk seorang OKU tu mengadu dan mencari jalan yang boleh memberi support, yang boleh memberi mereka a chance to continue and to probably complete the course. So maybe a biro aduan might also be a necessary step. And perhaps if there is a biro aduan, a student would feel, oh, kalau I declare I masih ada masalah, at least ada tempat yang saya boleh pergi mengadu. Tapi kalau dia declare dan dia masih mengalami masalah, dia kata, oh, itu your problem, then tak ada support, tak ada accommodation, then where do they go? So perhaps that is something we need to encourage or talk about a bit more, because most universities have counselling units already, and that's amazing, right? Yeah. You have in-house counsellors, they have access to counselling for burnout, for mental health issues, for loneliness, because people who go to university, some of them are leaving home for the first time.
Yeah.
That's what we spoke about when we started, that Kakak SK is transitioning into that new sphere. And when they are dealing with all these other issues, some support is absolutely necessary.
I think with the support levels at universities, my saranan saya lah, pesanan saya kepada semua universiti, whether it's public or private, when you have a disability support unit, I think it should be in consultation with the community themselves. Yes, pensyarah who teach, have the knowledge and the theory, but there's the lived experience. And your alumni of disabled students who have graduated, that is actually your pool that will tell you the things that you could do better at. Right? So, I hope, this is my hopeful plea to all the universities, all education institutions, and eventually workplaces as well. Consult the community when you want to make the accommodations, right?
And I think the last thing I want to say is the data that Desiree just read, 0.55. Kalau kenalah bagi accommodation kepada seseorang OKU itu supaya tak payah panjat tangga bawa kelas dia ke tingkat bawah, kalau ada ketidakupayaan fizikal, I think it's actually very doable when the numbers are so small.
Yeah. But again, my question is, are the numbers small because people are not applying because they feel they're going to get rejected? That's nagging at the back of my mind, Is that why the number is small? People are not applying because they know, so and so kena reject. So why put myself through that?
But actually, let's end with something positive.
Yes, please.
Like Adik Lim and Adik Anik, when the stories became viral, they were recipients of scholarships that they didn't apply for. They suddenly offered these scholarships. So perhaps a message to OKU students: continue to strive for academic success and
speak up.
Yeah,
for your rights. The rights that Didi told us about earlier, the benefits. To know those things and ask for them and fight for them. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered topik hari ni. Kita ada beberapa announcement for all of you. So the first one is pada 14 September nanti, kita family telah dijemput oleh PESEWA, Pan Pacific Southeast Asian Women Association, or PPSEAWA, in conjunction with International Day of Peace. So PESEWA is an NGO, international women's organization devoted to families and peace. And we would like to thank the organizers for inviting Kita Family for a fireside chat
on neurodiversity.
On neurodiversity, which will be moderated by none other than Khairi Jamaluddin. Familiar name, I'm sure many people have heard his name before. And we are very proud to have Kita Family represented by our Kakak SK and Anit. So, look out for more information. We will put PESEWA's info in our show notes for you to get more information on that if you'd like to catch us on the 14th of September. And that's not it. We are very busy in September outside of the studio. I'll let Didi share with you our next announcement. Didi?
Okay, well, we were all born, Kita Family was born in a program called KL Podfest. So that was where we had our first episode in front of live audience. And this year, KL Podfest, you are returning to KL Podfest 2035, happening on the 19th to 21st September at the campus Ampang. So please come, get your ticket from klpodfest.com, and then there'll be immersive, fun-filled weekend of live podcast shows on stage. So all these podcasts that you've been watching on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify. There'll be live podcast shows on those 3 days, live DJ sessions, pop-up markets, workshops, wellness, and more. So get your ticket. See you there. Of course, Kita Family will be there as well. And this time we're going to have a special guest with very special topic. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot on that day, not just for you guys to learn, but for us.
Yes.
And on that day, the three of us will be there. Didi, Anit, and Desiree will be there. And come and meet us in person. So obviously, Didi will be flying back to KL for that day.
Yay!
You don't have to find me in KK. Yeah, I got a reason to go back to KL. So KL Podfest, grab your ticket for the 3 days event. So you buy one ticket, you can come for all those 3 days. klpodfest.com. For more information, you can find on our IG and also on their IG, KL Podfest Instagram. Yeah.
Thank you, Didi. Yes, exactly. So the information on KL Podfest and even the Persiwa event is on our Instagram. As usual, please don't forget to follow, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and subscribe to YouTube. Please share our episodes if you feel it will benefit people that you know. And we're also on Spotify. So with that, terima kasih kerana sudi mendengar dan menonton episod ini. We'll say goodbye for now till our next episode. Bye.
Bye.